So Trump now leading Biden in 7 of the 7 swing states, all 7. Recently it was 6. Now it's gone up to 7 in, this is Morning Consult. Arizona up by 4, Georgia up by 6, Michigan by 4. He was up by 10 in the last poll. Nevada up by 3, North Carolina up by 9, Pennsylvania up by 2, Wisconsin up by 4. What is that caveat, Duncan, that you think people need to remember?
It's pretty simple. Ipsos ran a poll yesterday where they asked, I think, an important question for Republicans and everybody to consider, and that is, if he is convicted of a felony by a jury, would you still support Donald Trump for president? Yes, 25, no, 59. And considering he's facing 91 indictments and a handful of cases over the next 9 months, he's going to have to really draw an inside royal flush, I think, to avoid being convicted of at least one of those charges, unless he's able to somehow get all of them delayed past Election Day. I guess that is possible. The Jack Smith, the special prosecutor, has asked the Supreme Court to sort of pre-vet an immunity claim in that DC case. We don't know today, how quickly SCOTUS might hear that. And that could delay that one case, but then you'd also have to get a delay in the Mar-a-Lago docks case, the Georgia state case, and a handful of other things that are sort of out there as well. Which I don't think, you'd know better than I do. I'm not a lawyer. But I have to think one of these is going to happen before Election Day.
Well, all right, here's a couple things on that. I want to talk about it. That Ipsos poll is bad. Reuters Ipsos, as you point out, and it was a big poll, sample of 4,400 adults. That's a lot. That's a big one. Dems, GOP, and independents all in there. And you're right. They said that Trump was leading. He's leading 61% over DeSantis at 11. Haley tied for number 2 at 11. And on the Trump charges, they said, okay, if he's convicted, 64% said he should not run for president. And then, would you vote for Trump if he's convicted of a felony? 59% say no. And that includes 66% of independents. Only 31% of Republicans say if he's convicted, it's going to stop me from voting for him. That's the Never Trump crowd, and maybe a few others. No big surprise in the Republicans. But 2/3 of independents say conviction is a deal breaker for me. I'm not doing it. That is a problem. That does have to be factored into these Trump leads that Republicans are getting so excited about in poll after poll. He hasn't yet been convicted, and there is a very good chance he will be. However,
we're sleepwalking towards that. I don't feel like the presidential candidates who are opposing Donald Trump are really litigating this for the Republican electorate either.
They never mention it.
Yeah.
They never mention it. I got thoughts on that too, but wait, let me just finish the legal stuff. By the way, Holmes, welcome to the party.
Greetings.
So on the legal front, Trump's chances got a lot better yesterday, because the Supreme Court agreed to take up this January 6th case, not involving Trump, involving regular J6 defendants. And one of the claims involving whether you can be charged with a felony for obstructing a congressional proceeding. That happens to also be a claim against Trump. And for sure, Trump's legal team is going to try to use the Supreme Court mulling the constitutionality of one of the charges against him as a reason to delay the trial against him. And that's a pretty good argument. And in addition, this argument about whether Trump can be prosecuted for crimes at all for things he did as president, which is not yet clear under any federal precedent, that also is now going up to the Supreme Court. We believe on an expedited basis, but not entirely clear whether they're going to take it. Right now, they've asked for expedited briefing on whether they should take it at all, much less in an expedited fashion. So the Supreme Court, I think, will take it, but we have to see how quickly. All of this works for Trump because the number one thing he wants, especially in that DC federal case, is delay. The Georgia case, I don't see getting tried before November 24. It's got too much shit in it. She screwed up. RICO against 19 defendants. You screwed up, lady. It should have been much more simple and streamlined. You had your chance, muffed it. Down Mar-a-Lago documents, the best legal case against him, but probably with the best jury for Trump and certainly the best judge for Trump. It's a Trump-appointed federal judge. It's a jury in an area of Florida that's more red. But the legal case itself is very strong against Trump, frankly. That's why he's been doing jury nullification on that, just going out there saying, Biden did it. Everyone did it. I did nothing wrong. Nothing but whatever. That case, again, I don't see that coming before November 2024 because it's in depth. Who's got access to the classified documents? Can the defense lawyers see them? Can the jurors see them? Which ones can they see? Which ones can't they see? Are people going to get security clearances? Andy McCarthy's been talking about this a lot on National Review. That's going to take a while for the court to figure out. And P.S., the Trump-appointed judge has no reason to put the pedal to the metal and speed it along. She is not a Judge Chutkan, the federal judge in D.C. who can't stand him. So I like my chances of delay in Florida if I'm Trump. And I like my chances of not getting tried in Georgia, too, because Fani Willis overcharged. Then you go up to New York. No one gives a shit about the New York case. He's not facing jail time. It's about the Stormy Daniels hush payment, whatever. That's not going to affect anything. I don't think that's the one people are going to say, I'm not voting, even independents, because he didn't document his hush money to Stormy. So that leaves us with D.C., which is the best place for him to be convicted. It really is. Chutkan hates him. The D.C. jury's going to hate him. The J6 charges are trumped up for sure, but a D.C. jury's probably going to do it. So all they really need is get the conviction. Even if it gets reversed on appeal, the conviction helps the Dems. And the fact that Jack Smith is like, I have to have a resolution immediately, just shows what a partisan hack he is. I said this on the air yesterday. Then I found out even the Washington Post had an opinion piece saying that. Even the Democrats are starting to see this is so political. There's no reason for Jack Smith to be like, fast, we have to resolve the immunity issue and skip the Court of Appeals ruling, which is what he wanted to do. The lower court ruled no immunity, Chutkan. Normally you go up to the Court of Appeals, the DC Circuit, and say, did Chutkan get it right? Jack Smith, the prosecutor, said, fuck you, Fifth Circuit. I'm going right to SCOTUS. I need an immediate ruling. Does he have immunity or doesn't he? I got to get this case tried ASAP. It's supposed to go March 4th, the day before Super Tuesday. Do me a solid, SCOTUS. So in any event, if Trump can delay that case as much as humanly possible, then he's not a convicted felon before November 2024. And then on November 2024, if he wins, he can pull the feds off of those cases in D.C. and in Florida. And then he's just stuck with Fani Willis down there in Georgia, who's going to have quite a pickle trying to put the sitting president of the United States, even in the defendant's chair where you're supposed to be in a criminal trial, never mind in jail. And as I said, F the New York case. We're kind of done with it. It was shocking to have it indicted, but it's a nothing burger net. So that's my legal analysis of why yesterday's two Supreme Court pieces of news are very good for Trump. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen, guys. And these polls are still an issue because if it does happen, God, the Republicans are taking a huge gamble.
Oh, the whole thing's a gamble. I mean, just listen to the analysis, which is exquisite as it usually is with you, Megyn. But I mean, what everybody's pinning their hopes to is a Supreme Court that's going to find a different group of defendants can't actually obstruct an official proceeding. So somehow that will work out in his favor, which I think is an open question. We always knew, by the way, that this Jan 6 case was going to end up at the Supreme Court. There is nothing but new precedent here from beginning to end. Doesn't mean it's not going to stick, but this just has to be litigated at the Supreme Court one way or another. Getting a front run on that, I does sound like, based on your analysis, that it is probably a good thing for Trump. The documents case, I'm a little bit more skeptical than you are, Megyn, about whether or not that actually comes to trial. There is a whole bunch of stuff there, maybe not everything, but there's a whole bunch of stuff there that's pretty cut and dry. There's just not a lot of opinion to have about whether or not people ask you for documents and then you attempt to try to destroy them or obfuscate or, otherwise mislead the federal government about the possession of those.
Just to clarify what you mean, Holmes, you're saying even though the jury will be Trump friendly, you actually wouldn't bet on them siding with him just because it seems pretty clear that he defied the subpoena.
On at least a couple of the charges. I'm not saying the whole thing is going to stick. It's certainly a much more friendly jury than D.C. or New York, no question about it. But it ultimately is a court of law, and laws either are broken or they're not. I I'm cynical enough at this point to say our entire justice system just is a partisan lens, although it does appear as though the left is trying every single day to make it so. But I think those are real issues, and I'm sure you guys were talking about before I jumped on. I mean, look, that's the liability that Republican voters have somehow not processed. Like, nobody's talked about this in any significant way. I mean, it is hard to imagine, even in that best case scenario for Trump that you laid out, it is very difficult for me to imagine that you're not sometime in the mid or late summer months, maybe even into the fall, still grappling deeply with these issues in the context of a general election in which the American people are dead split on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's a hell of a liability to just load on your back and pretend like it doesn't matter.
I mean, we discussed this the other day, but in 2022, we were skeptical that the whole argument that Democrats were making of, democracy's on the line, Trump is an existential threat to democracy, and these people that he endorsed are thus, threats to democracy. We were skeptical that that would be a powerful argument to make in the face of such a terrible economy that can be put on Biden. But it worked.
Debt. You can go to bed thinking about it and wake up thinking about it. High interest credit cards and loans make it nearly impossible to pay off your debt. And insane inflation keeps you stuck paycheck to paycheck. The system traps you in debt. Donewithdebt.com can be a lifeline. I've talked about my own experience with debt in the past, so I know what it's like. Trust me, it's been a while, but I was there and it hurt. Donewithdebt.com has a new strategy to help erase your debt faster and easier than you ever thought possible. Here's what they can do for you. Analyze all the debt options you qualify for, minimize interest rates, cut medical bills, and reduce debt without bankruptcy and without a loan. But you need to hurry. Some debt solutions are time sensitive. Go to donewithdebt.com. Find out how easy they make it and find out if it's right for you. That's donewithdebt.com, donewithdebt.com. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.